And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend edition of the WardiTV Monday number 8, your weekly dose of Open StarCraft. I'm Coach VIP with you and joined by these amazing players, the people in the chat, and by my lovely plushies as well. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, !B in the chat. If you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves, the bracket is live, the bracket is stacked, and there are so many amazing matches that are currently underway. We had a hard time picking and choosing. We were actually going to be jumping onto Eba versus Zaun, but that I believe is being casted by Wardi. So Wardi has Eba v Zaun. We'll be jumping into our own series instead, and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Golden Aura, we have our Canadian Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Zerg player for the... Oh, I was going to say for the Platinum Heroes. My apologies. Currently teamless. It is YoungYakov. We'll have to adjust his team when it comes to the overlays, but we are loading in. And if you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It is time to get your gambling going. Predictions are now open. Place your bets on who you think will take this series. We are here in the round of 32. Again, it is a very stacked bracket. We'll be going over the brackets after we wrap up with this series, but until then, we're diving in. Until then, we are diving on in. It is going to be 15-15 here out of YoungYakov. Very safe opener. Does allow YoungYakov to get his hatchery on location without dealing with the pro block. Likewise, it means YoungYakov goes for a faster spawning pool. Delayed gas. Gas is going to be a little bit later here for YoungYakov in favor of the earlier hatchery and earlier spawning pool. So again, very safe opener by the Zerg player. Meanwhile, Trigger opening up standard back at home. So here we go. Share map, share map. I'm sure there are people that are curious as well. I did see some discussion earlier in the chat, but we are not playing on the PTR. The PTR is live, and the balance patch has been applied specifically to the PTR as well, where we can test things out. But that will not be the case here in the WardiTV Monday. Maybe next week though. Maybe next week, because other online events are going to be taking up the mantle and forcing the games to be played on the PTR. I'm referring to the Kalaris Steadfast Roddy Cup, which is later on tonight. I'm also referring to the PvZ Cup, which is in 12 hours. So 12 hours from now, we're going to be live again with the PvZ Cup. That's going to be on the PTR, and our open cups as well. I'm referring to the Sparkling Tuna Cup, the Nation's Total Tussle as well. I do feel like it's on us as tournament organizers to try and provide as much feedback as possible, try to provide as much testing as possible as well, to try to make sure that, you know, things, any issues can be raised as quickly as possible to Blizzard or to ESL, so that adjustments can be made in kind as well. So again, that won't be applicable at least to the WardiTV Monday, but again, especially because all the other weeklies are going to be rising to the challenge here, maybe the WardiTV Monday will do the same next week. So maybe next week. And of course, Wardi is hosting his own hyper specialized like PTR tournaments later on down the line as well, so that's also going to be on the horizon here. Until then though, we're going to be settling into and focusing on the current patch. The current map pool here. Adept does threaten the shade. Lings are going to be able to keep up, but again, they are slow Lings. We have 8 more Lings on the way. This Adept shouldn't get too much done. Gets 1 Ling so far. Does threaten the mineral line, waddling in, and we'll get 1 drone. The Spore a little bit too late there for YoungYakov. 1 drone goes down. Behind this, do have our Stargate. I assumed it was going to be an Oracle, but no, it's going to be a Void Ray opener instead. Trigger, he's being a little bit more aggressive here. He's going to be looking to hunt down those Overlords and looking to deny vision from YoungYakov. That's kind of the give and take that you have here. An Oracle opener allows you to scout, allows you to harass mineral lines, allows you to keep the Zerg player busy back at home and keeps you safe against these Ling run-bys. A Void Ray instead is a little bit more defensive, takes down the scouting overlords, and doesn't really have as much versatility as an Oracle would in other situations. Speaking of Lings, they catch out the Adepts and they move out. So a nice catch by YoungYakov. He does get both Adepts, they both do go down, but he can't really threaten too much as a Void Ray is in position, does get the Overlord kill at least, and Trigger is now looking to expand. And get that third base up and running. The question becomes, how early, how soon does Trigger throw down the Twilight Council? Ooh, as it is going to be Void Ray into Oracle, so YoungYakov has to be careful here. He might be tempted to skip Spores because it was a Void Ray opening, but it is a follow-up Oracle as well, so it's moving out across. Ooh, Lings have forced a cancel! Oh my god. Very nice damage dealt here by YoungYakov. He does cancel the third base, doesn't kill anything here, but did delay, did cancel, so very nicely done. Lings are racing back home. Oracle does get across the map. Remember, there are no spores. There were no spores. YoungYakov, we did cut some corners here. 2 drones go down, but only 2 workers here at the natural. Queens are keeping up. Likewise, adepts moving out across the map. Only going to be 3 adepts. Usually this would be 5 adepts, but remember, 2 adepts went down at the start of the game, so significantly less harassment, less potential here for damage. Despite that, they still shade into the natural. Ling's having a hard time keeping up. 3 drones, 4 drones going to be going down. Remember, 2 adepts do one-shot drones. That's going to be 5 worker kills. The adepts are going to be cleaned up. Likewise, the Oracle not finding too much more damage. Gets 1 extra worker towards the end. 6 drone kills in total. And there is that Twilight Council. And do you see what I see? I do not see a Forge. No Forge here with the Twilight Council. This tells us that Glaive Adepts is going to be on the table here. Could technically be Blink, and it could lead into like an H-Gate Blink all in. Ooh, and it is going to be Blink, actually. Okay. You have my attention. You have my attention. So because of this build here from Trigger, there's a couple of things that are kind of coming into place. One thing, Forge is late. The Forge is going to be delayed, +1 is going to be delayed as well, but in favor of delayed upgrades, we have a much faster Blink. What does this mean? This means if YoungYakov went for an all-in, Blink would be done in time, and Trigger would be able to defend against it quite nicely with Blink Stalkers instead of otherwise vanilla regular Stalkers. Likewise, Trigger can also turn this into an earlier timing. Because Blink is so much sooner, he can throw down extra gateways and be hyper aggressive early on with a mass amount of Blink Stalkers. And it can lead into a 3-base all-in as well. And I'd be leaning towards that if Trigger had dealt more damage. Looking at the unit loss tab, he gets 9 drones. That's not bad, right? 9 workers is not bad at all for Trigger, considering he only traded adepts, but he's thinking otherwise. He takes extra gases. So he takes his gases here at the 3rd, and now we have some tech being thrown down alongside it. Temple Archives and Robotics Facility, Trigger is taking up and building up towards the mid-game. So no all-in out of Trigger. Oracles, they move out across the map. They do threaten the main. Do dip in once again. Ooh, Trigger leaving the Oracles a little bit idle there. It's a bit of a misstep there by Trigger, and YoungYakov does punish. Meanwhile, back at home, Trigger getting in position to expand and take a 4th. But now he has not much left to defend and also harass across the map. So YoungYakov, he can be active once again with these Lings. We do see YoungYakov, he also did skip Roach production. He's going straight from Ling into Hydra. So far, so good for YoungYakov. Again, he only lost 9 drones in the process of the early game. Now he's able to freely take up into Ling Hydra, into Hive Tech, into Lurkers as well. So far, so good. YoungYakov, he is looking quite solid here. Didn't take too much damage. He did delay the 3rd base, if you remember. I do think that he could maybe threaten the 4th, especially with all these Lings. But as he moves out, he's being kept busy by the harassing force here of Trigger. So YoungYakov, he's being forced to stay back at home and build up. And he's working towards Lurker Tech. It's going to be Lurker Tech on the horizon for YoungYakov. Meanwhile, Trigger back at home, he's just going to be turtling up and stabilizing on 4 bases. So he's just getting his 4th up and running. We have site defense, cannons, shield batteries, everything's on the way. Storm is being prioritized, of course. It's going to take a little bit longer for Trigger to actually move out because he's teching. It's going to take a while for him to really build up a robust army of Immortals, Archons, and Storm. So until then, Trigger is going to be playing the Defender, which is why now is the best time for YoungYakov to tech. Speaking of tech, there's that Lurker Den. Like YoungYakov, he's under no danger. Like there's no threat of a push, there's no threat of an attack. So YoungYakov, he's free to drone up to 80+ workers, get a 5th base, get a hive up and running, and that's exactly what he's doing here. So thankfully, YoungYakov, he isn't playing too safe, he isn't playing too scared. He recognizes how much room Trigger is giving him, and he's taking full advantage of that. So far, really good kind of reading of the game state here for YoungYakov. Trigger's poking out, but again, this army can't really kill YoungYakov. And Trigger knows that as well, which is why he's taking up even further. So we're going to embrace a very long game here, or a bit of a longer game state. Trigger, he isn't just taking into Storm and Immortal, Fleet Beacon, Skytoss. So Trigger, he's just going to turtle and get into Skytoss. That's going to be the plan for Trigger, as he's already taking his first steps in that direction. Yep, +1 air attack is on the way. 2nd Stargate, 3rd Stargate as well. We're going full late game here into Skytoss. Likewise, YoungYakov should be able to get into Hydra, Lurker, Viper, but as you know, this will not be the best army against Skytoss, or against that kind of late game Skytoss composition. That's where Spire and Corruptor Tech comes into play. Now, there is going to be a window. There's going to be a window here where YoungYakov, he has Hydra, Lurker, Viper, and he can try to kill Trigger before he builds up a mass amount of carrier. Like, carrier production has not begun. So, Trigger is vulnerable, and he is stuck at home. So we'll see if YoungYakov can break it. Lings, they do hit the 3rd base. They're going for the shield battery, catching some of these cannons. Shield battery does go down. Just the initial shield battery does get eyes on the army composition. But again, the pressure right now is going to be on YoungYakov. Nidus Swarm is on the way. Hive upgrades for the Lurkers as well. YoungYakov has map control. He will be the first, or he should be the first to max out as well. but it's all about what he can do with that army. As the Overseer gets denied, we do not get a Night Storm into the main. YoungYakov, he scouted, he saw all the carrier production, he knows what's coming, and he throws down the Spire. Spire has been placed, so he's working towards, you know, a corruptor-based army, but YoungYakov, he still has to make use of what he has here and now. I feel like YoungYakov needs to at least deny this 5th. At least deny the 5th base and delay the expansion and contain Trigger on 4 bases and delay that economy. If he's unable to, then Trigger will be able to defend, max out, get into Skytos, and outscale YoungYakov. So we'll see what the plan is going to be. In the meantime, Void Ray does apply some pressure. Void Ray goes down. I mean, the Void Ray wasn't really adding much to the army of Trigger, so he does throw it away. Zealots, they do go for the expansion. They will attempt to delay. Likewise, Storms. Oh my god, they Storms. They catch the Lurkers. Lurkers, they take a lot of hits to the face. Lynx as well. Not a bad trade here. I mean, Trigger, he doesn't really kill many of the Lurkers, but he does soften them up. Ooh, another Storm connects. And 2 Lurkers go down. Not just 2, he gets 3. Trigger, he snipes 3 Lurkers. No quite pushing in. That's Trigger, he does back off. And those are some nice pickups. You got what? 3 Lurkers. He denied the Northern expansion. I'm hoping it was a cancel. Oh, that was a kill. You can see there, 1 hatchery did go down, so that was a kill, not a cancel on the hatchery. Zealots are moving out once again. Trigger, he is denying bases. He's picking up some key units. At the same time, he's building up a greater Skytos army. So nice moves here out of Trigger. I feel like a lesser player would have been more passive, right? Would have been just Trigger just chilling back at home, fortifying himself and maxing out. But no, Trigger is being more active ahead of time, and so far it's working well here for Trigger. It is working out well. You can see YoungYakov going for the gold. Not yet saturated, but in a couple of moments it will be. So again, it's going to be a Trigger to deny that. Meanwhile, Nidus storm into the main, but there are carriers in position, and this Nidus should not finish. Likewise, the Overseer should also be hunted down as well. But this is distracting Trigger at least. The Overseer gets the hell out of there. Does pull away. Zealot Ramai delaying the expansion. Trigger, has he scouted bottom left? He has not. Again, the Zealot Ramais, they've been focusing here towards the north, but has yet to actually scout towards the south. But here comes that main army. And Trigger does have a recall available. He has 2. He has the base recall. He also has the mothership recall as well. So Naga does get eyes on the gold, and Trigger does rotate, respond, and he will get a kill. YoungYakov tries to respond. Looking at his army composition, only 5 corruptors, but he does have a decent amount of hydras. He's going to try to collapse on this army. And Trigger, he should recall. Does he take the fight? I mean, no corruptors, so Trigger, he can actually threaten this. Yeah, with the amount of storms that Trigger has, YoungYakov, he cannot engage. Again, the corruptor count is just not high enough. Oof. Storm zones. The corruptor count is building up over time. Vipers as well. Nice yoink. Gets 1, he gets 2, he gets 3. Yeah, 3 carriers gonna get picked off. Very nice damage. Very nice pickups here by YoungYakov. And the storms were not there to punish. Now storms coming in, but the terrain working against the Brodos. And corruptors, they go for the dive. They get another carrier. There's where's the anti-air? Where's the support? Where are the Archons? Yeah, no Archons here. Every carrier is going down. Massive losses for Trigger. That was what, 6 carriers? Yes, 6 carriers. Oh my god. So Trigger, he was caught with his pants down. At the same time, Zealot Ramai does get into a mineral line. There's a mothership for a recall, but yeah, it looks like he just won't be able to get into the mineral line itself. We'll have to pull away, and he may just lose everything. The mothership is not going to be saved. Oof. Yeah, the Archons, the Zealots. Again, Trigger, he needed, what, like 2-3 Archons with the main army to protect against those corruptors. And with that, Trigger, he plummets in supply. YoungYakov, he's maxed out. And he's pushing. He's going to be pushing. Trigger, he needs time. He needs time to rebuild. He's still got 3 more carriers in transition, or still warping in production. Likewise, the High Templar are also fresh. They don't have much energy. They have 1 storm each. Ooh. Get some decent storms, but no kills. Lurkers coming in from behind, running into carriers. I mean, this is a very lurker-heavy composition here for YoungYakov. Lurkers are being thrown away. Now we have a handful of Corruptors coming in. They're going to get one carrier, I guess, but this is still not the best trade here for our Zerg player. Oh my god. Yeah, this was a big overextension, and just like that, all the Lurkers are going down. The Hydras, the Corruptors as well. At the same time, Zealots, they hit the left-hand side. 17 drone kills. Oh my god. And YoungYakov, he pushed in with too high of a Lurker count against Skytoss. That was not the play. Likewise, out of position. The mineral line goes down. The base goes down as well. Massive pickoffs. And everything swings in favor of the Protoss. In favor of Trigger. Yeah, Zealots once again going for another mineral line. There are some links to defend. Thankfully, Lurker count goes down to 2. Only 2 Lurkers, but now we have Corruptor. There's that one Archon doing what it can. Corruptors, they will at least win the battle in the sky. Carriers are cleaned up. And now it's time for Trigger to be the one to overextend. That was an expensive army. 3 carriers going down. And the Corruptors are on the hunt. They're looking for more pickoffs. And they find an Oracle. They find another carrier as well. Ooh, can they get another? They can. And Trigger caught a little bit out of position there. A little bit exposed. And the Corruptors are going for the production, going for the Stargates. Now, without any kind of air composition, without Carrier or Tempest, Broodlords. Broodlords suddenly become very viable for YoungYakov if he keeps these Corruptors alive. Meanwhile, Trigger moving out with the ground army, but his army supply is still hurting. Trigger has a bank, but he needs to spend his money. And he needs to spend his resources. Decent Storm, but we need some more High Templar. We need some more Warpins. And another carrier goes down. And I believe the Greater Spire is done, but before that happens, YoungYakov is just pushing it anyway. As the Overcharge gets baited out. Trigger throwing down extra gateways. How many gateways was he on? Just now getting up to 11. So not too many gateways. There's no ground support. The Zealot were good for Trigger, but I mean, this is the thing here with the Protoss army is that it's quite expensive. It takes a long time to replace whenever a fight goes awry as well. So Trigger needs time. He needs time to rebuild, to remax. And again, now is the time for Broodlord. I believe there is a Greater Spire. Yeah, there we go. Greater Spire is done. YoungYakov for now still just focusing on his Lurker-based army. I mean, either one works really at this point. Without Skytoss, the Lurkers, they can have free reign. As YoungYakov pushes forward into Storms though. Oh my god, the Storms are brutal! The Concave of Archons, and with these Archons, can Trigger hold on? He can! Oh my god. Cleans up almost every single Lurker. That was an expensive loss for YoungYakov. He's lost 35 Lurkers this game. Jesus. So many Lunkers. So Trigger, he's holding on. As you can see here, he has abandoned Skytoss. He's not making any more carrier. He knows that he has lost air control. Goal base is going to be denied. That's a cancel. Trigger is taking top right though. He has cannons in position. As Trigger is attempting to double expand. Now, as the game progresses here, even though there's been some, I mean, it's been very back and forth, right? It's been very messy, very back and forth. There have been some good moments for both players. YoungYakov is down in expansion, though. He's down on bases. YoungYakov, he needs an economy. As you can see, YoungYakov, he no longer has a bank, and his army, I mean, it's not as efficient as that of Trigger. So I do have to favor Trigger. I do think he was in some hot water earlier, especially with the bases going down, but now they're being reestablished. And YoungYakov, he's stuck with 71 drones. He's stuck, oversaturated. He does need that other expansion. It's on the way. And again, he didn't quite embrace any Broodlords yet. Again, he's just focusing on mainly Lurker. Oh my, that's a lot of Lurkers. He can hold his own against a ground army. True. Speaking of the High Templar, the High Templar get caught out. Massive pickoffs. High Templar and the Archons as well. And Trigger, he overextended. He should not have been here. Zealots, they will get the base, but was this worth losing? What was that, like, what, 3, 4 High Templar? That's a kill, not a cancel. But so many Archons went down as well. Still a very shaky game state as Trigger goes for a split push, takes down another expansion. He denies center left and top right as well. I mentioned before, YoungYakov, he's broke. He still is. Even more so. You know, Trigger, he's establishing a fresh mining base. He does need to get some workers over here, though. And Yakov, he still has a large lurker force. And with these lurkers, YoungYakov, he can take down these expansions. There are some storms. Do we have any corruptors? 10. Okay, good. 10 corruptors for YoungYakov. Yeah, lurkers are pushing forward. There's just not enough support here for Trigger. He's going for a counterattack instead. He's abandoning the base. This Nexus is going to go down. Both Nexus even. Can he save the probes? Oh, and a little bit of indecision from Trigger. He wasn't too sure what he wanted. Does he counterattack? Does he defend? Indecision means nothing. It means that he doesn't defend his bases. They both go down, and he doesn't counterattack either. But he has built up an Archon-based army. Still focusing on the ground. That's 26 probe kills. Yakov desperately long distance mining. He needs the expansion. Trigger knows it. And now this is finally an army. Now we have a bit of Sky Toss mixed in. We have a heavy Storm count with all these High Templar, Immortals, Archons. A death ball of an army that I'm not so certain YoungYakov can engage. He does have one Viper, true. YoungYakov has one Viper here to help support. That is still a lot of lurkers. The Skytos army is still in 3 carriers and 1 mothership. The mothership is, oh, looking for a recall. Okay, I see you. Mothership skirting towards the north. Heading towards the main, but is going to get caught out. Massive pickup. Mothership gets caught. Lurkers, they go towards top right. And Trigger, what do? Do we counterattack and knock down the fresh mining base, or do we defend? What is it going to be? He's counterattacking. Yeah, it's too late to defend. Top right is going to fall. Trigger pushing right towards center left. So both players using their most important mining bases. Trigger does escape with most of his probes. And YoungYakov is going for the Night Storm to save his drones as well. Oh my god. He's saving the drones. He's trying to at least. Oh, it's gonna... he's gonna be able to save most of them, but not all. As the Nidus goes down, it's going to be 11 dead workers. At the same time, though, YoungYakov keeps on pushing, does break down another expansion. The carrier's getting caught out. Nice feedback here on the Viper. Ooh, but pushing into these workers not going to be easy. Nice concave, though, at a Trigger. Yeah, with the concave, he can break this. And again, no broods. No brood lords, just mainly lurker-based. Trigger, he backs off. Did get the expansion. Trigger still has this center base, or this southern expansion, the southern base, and that's just better economy. That's just a better economy for the Protoss. Trigger has a full mining base, and YoungYakov, he has half of one. Half a mining base, and Lotus is mining. And Yakov, he is struggling. And it looks like, as intense and as back and forth as this game has been, it does come down to whether or not YoungYakov can afford these trades, and he cannot. He's running out of steam. He can still take a good fight if he can avoid the storms and avoid some of these Archons. Workers, they get in position. Corruptors, they do catch one Tempest. Nice movement here by YoungYakov. He has the high ground as well. And we're going for a base trade. Yeah, we're going for a base trade at this point. Trigger, he pulls the trigger back. Let's go. Corruptors are going to be able to caustic spray down one of these bases. Likewise, there are some lurkers at home to defend. Bearing in mind, we can always go for the Nidus to recall back home. More bases are falling. Detection is here. And YoungYakov turns around. I think he knows that he cannot win the base trade. So he's racing back home, but there is detection. Oh, the High Templar! Up! Two of them getting caught out. Get some decent storms. Trigger has to back off. Again, those 2 high NG High Templar. Lurkers on the chase. Carrier goes down. And YoungYakov, he gets an expansion. Amidst all the chaos. Does get a fresh mining base. Not fresh enough. Ooh. But Trigger still has a greater army. Trigger has to be careful. He did split off his forces, and he can be picked apart, but oh, that's gonna be another lurker going down. YoungYakov, he's going for the gold. I mean, there's nothing in position to defend. But it is still 2 bases against 1. Lurkers get caught out. Corruptors are revealed. Trigger coming in with the intercept. And can he catch them? Oh! Who catches who? Lurkers from behind. Trigger splits up, forced to recall. And he saves every single unit. Oh, but the Observer. Okay. Observer does survive. I spoke too soon. The Observer's in a very awkward position. It's cut off from the main army. Backup Observer on the way. Throughout all this, brutal Zealot run by goes towards the north side. Gets the entire mineral line. And that's all the YoungYakov had left. Even if he gets his base, it doesn't matter. Not anymore. Not if he has no economy. And he doesn't. YoungYakov is down to 6 drones. Down to 6 workers. Base goes down. YoungYakov, he's getting caught out as well. Trigger with the intercept. Massive storms. Takes down the lurkers. And Trigger, yeah, can just push in. Did lose the Observer, though. Oof. Observer did go down, but it's okay. Backup Observer has somewhat arrived. Trigger does turn back around. Well, Zealots to take down more bases. The army did punch up for a moment there, and Trigger, he has to respect it. And yeah, YoungYakov at this point, he's huffing a bit of copium, pappy. GG gets called as he just ran out of steam, ran out of army, and a Trigger takes game number 1. Whew. GG, a very, very intense back and forth. Honestly, there were strong moments for Trigger, strong moments for YoungYakov as well. It was very back and forth. At the end of the day, as we did mention, it did come down to the economy, though. It came down to the fact that Trigger was able to maintain more bases than YoungYakov. YoungYakov, he just ran out of drones, ran out of bases, ran out of money, ran out of steam. GG. GG, well played. Trigger does take game 1, but that was merely only game number 1. It's only game 1. Now we're jumping into game number 2. Let's go. What a game. Oh my god. Went the distance, pappy. And again, it was very scrappy as well. Like, despite the fact that it went to late game, like, there were moments where YoungYakov was getting caught out, where Trigger was getting caught out as well, when it came to his Archons, when it came to his Sky Toss. It was very back and forth. Oh. It's beautiful. And with that, we're getting into game 2. And I would love to see an ace match. I'd love to see a game 3, but the pressure is now on YoungYakov. Here we go. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Canadian Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Basilisk. It is Trigger. Leading the series 1-0, and spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the blue Zerg player, representing himself, currently teamless, but clearly deserving to be on a team. It is YoungYakov. Here we go. Lurkers are good versus Toss, but stronger versus Toss ground. That is not true. That is not entirely true, I should say. As you can see, even though Trigger was forced into a mainly ground-based army towards the end, he was still able to perform well, but a lot of it did come down to positional play. I think you saw a couple of moments where if Trigger ever engaged with his army bunched up, then he would really struggle engaging lurkers, but in a wider open area, in a wider open space, especially if he was able to get a concave off, then he could collapse on those lurkers and break them, and break through them as well. Which is why I was a little bit perplexed that even though we had a greater Spire, YoungYakov did never invest into Broodlords. We did point out that there were a couple of moments when the Skytos army of Trigger was getting whittled away, and there were opportunities, I should say, where Broodlords would have been a little more viable, but at the same time, it also comes down to the economy as well. We spoke about it, how YoungYakov was struggling to maintain himself, and something like a Broodlord transition is quite expensive. Bear that in mind. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot that does go into it. Oh. Regardless, here we go. We're getting into our next game, getting into game number 2. go. Now, when it comes to the kind of game that we're going to be seeing here in Game 2, Golden Aura is known for more of its late game just because how large it is. Very large map, long rush distance by ground, a lot of bases to be taken, and on top of that, very defendable 4-base setup as well. That is a little bit less applicable here to Oceanborn, especially because early on, especially on 3-base play, we have seen a lot of all-ins. It goes both ways, but I would not be surprised after Game 1 if YoungYakov goes for something crazy like, you know, a 3-base like 66 or even less drone all in with roaches like a German taxi, a queen walk across the map. Aggression is definitely viable here on Oceanborn, so my eyes are going to be on YoungYakov. As a reminder, YoungYakov, he did skip his Roach Warren last game, did go straight Ling Hydra, so we'll see if he does embrace an earlier Roach Warren this time or not. But now, Stargate. Stargate opener out of Trigger, once again. Now last game it was a Void Ray opener, this time I would love to see another Void Ray here, even if it isn't the same build, just to try to get, just to try to deceive the Zerg player, make it look like the same build when it isn't. But as we can see, Oracle. It's going to be an Oracle opener instead, so something a little bit more standard here from Trigger. No Void Ray. Meanwhile, at Epsay Shade is natural. The Lings that get caught out. Oh my god. Lings, they were caught on the wrong side of the wall. 4 drone kills for 2 Adepts. Brutal. Especially because 1 Adept is going to escape. Yeah, 1 goes down, the other does make it out as well. 4 drone kills for 1 Adept. A very strong start from Trigger. Thankfully, Link Speed finishes up, but the Oracle is here to protect, and the Adept will not go down. So a much stronger start from our Protoss player. Because 1 Adept did survive, that means that this 3rd base is a lot more fortifiable, it's a lot more defendable, and it will get up and running. And YoungYakov, he does not replenish his Lings. He's droning. I mean, he has to. He just lost 4 workers, so as a result, there's nothing to threaten the 3rd base of Trigger. It is nothing to threaten. His 3rd base is going to get up and running. Oracles are moving out. And we'll see if YoungYakov can minimize more losses. As the Oracle's a threat in the main. Double Queen in position. So far, so good. YoungYakov, he does not have a Spore here at the natural, and Trigger does notice. Oh! Does force out a Spore, but does not get the drone. Doesn't quite get the worker. The Oracles, though, they're still active. They're still threatening. And he does get 1. He does get 2 drones. 2 drones go down. He also does spot the Baneling Nest as well. So just like the previous game, YoungYakov, he is skipping the Roach Warren. He is going Ling Bane. And Trigger is aware. Oh! Bit of a misrally! Brutal misrally here. A full energy Oracle goes down. I say full. 1 fresh Oracle goes down. And YoungYakov, he's pushing. Let's go. I mentioned before that aggression and all-ins are more favored here on Oceanborn. If you remember, I was, speculating like a German taxi or a queen, a roach walk across the map. It's going to be a Ling Bane queen all-in instead. There's no Nidus, no German taxi, but an all-in nonetheless. YoungYakov, he pulls a Trigger, and Trigger back at home. Is he ready for this? He has a shield battery on the way. Blink, it just did begin. It just started, and it's not going to be ready for this. Trigger, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. This will not be an easy defense for the Protoss. Remember, last game, Trigger did go for earlier Blink. This time went for a more standard build, which means later Blink and later +1. Trigger throwing down side defense. Honestly, the defense is going to come down to the force fields. Remember, there are no Ravagers with this, so force fields, they can completely slice up an army and delay. More sentries warping in. Going to be 3 sentries in total. Banelings are welding in towards the mineral line. Ooh, they are denied. No force fields yet. Trigger has to be so careful with them. Once again, Banelings, they do get in. Nice stasis here on the Lings. Ooh, but the probes do go down. Massive Baneling connections. They do pull back. So far, strong defense. Honestly, the stasis may have just won Trigger the game. Like, there are so many Lings. Most of the army gets caught out. The Ling Bane gets cleaned up. Queens are falling as well. But the stasis is about to run out. And YoungYakov, he comes in for the surround. The force fields. Oh my god. The force fields. They saved the cannon. They saved the cannon. They deny the surround. And Trigger, he holds. GG gets called, and Trigger will take the series 2-0, advancing on to the next round. GG. GG, well played. Again, Trigger, despite the fact that he had no +1, he had no blink, a lot was invested into upgrades that were on the horizon. He was still able to pull off that defense. Honestly, the stasis trap was so crucial there as well. So many Lings caught in that stasis. Likewise, the force fields were on point. So very, very impressive defense there by Trigger. He does defend, he does survive, does take it in the end. GG. GG, well played. Very impressive defense there by our Canadian Protoss. And with that, Trigger will make it to the round of 16. To the round of 16, and the question becomes who will face off against him. Meanwhile, a shout out to YoungYakov. Again, he had a really impressive and really comparable game 1. I do think that, again, game 1 could have gone either way. 100% could have gone either way. There were moments for YoungYakov and for Trigger as well. So it was a very competitive game 1. Here in game 2, as we mentioned, like an all-in was a little bit more likely on a map like Oceanborn, and YoungYakov, he embraced it. But Trigger, it wasn't just that he was able to pull off the defense, but he also scattered ahead of time as well. He saw the Bailey nest behind the mineral line. He saw the queens moving through the center as well. So Trigger, he had a little bit of time, some crucial seconds, to formulate that defense and to pull it off as well.